Tarik Skubal gets some run support in a big way as the Tigers take game one against Oakland. We'll talk about that, as well as a potential roster move later this week, all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen. Every single day, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Welcome in, welcome all. Happy Wednesday, everybody. The Tigers win 11-4 against the City Redacted, against the Athletics that do not claim anywhere on the planet. They don't want to be Oakland because they just had a nasty breakup. They don't want to be Vegas because they're not technically they just broke ground, I'm pretty sure, a couple of days ago, actually. So they're not technically there. That's not really like a sure thing, I guess. So they don't want to go by that, but they also don't want to go by Sacramento because they're literally playing in a minor league park and are, they hope are only going to be there for a couple of years. So the Tigers win, the Detroit Tigers win 11-4 against just the Athletics. The Tigers are now 50-30 on the season. They are the first team in Major League Baseball to reach the 50-win mark as the A's fall to 32-49. So a lot to like in this game, obviously, as an 11-4 final would insinuate. I think my first thought is honestly something that I want to give credit to. I keep wanting to say, well, I go down the rabbit hole of I want to say Bally, then I want to say Fox. FanDuel Sports Network, Detroit, full name, whatever it is. The broadcast for this game on FanDuel had a great stat where they explained that the Detroit Tigers are 21-5 on the season in series openers. That is absolutely phenomenal. And when you talk about I guess you could just say the season as a whole, but when you look series to series and you go, why are the Tigers winning so many series? Obviously, the offense has been really good. The starting pitching got off to a great start this year, obviously a little bit injured and whatnot as the year went along. The bullpen has been kind of a roller coaster, but has been relatively solid. But not outside of the box score and outside of the analytics, like, one of the biggest things you can do to win a series, a 3-game series especially, is just take game one, dude. Like, it swings the odds of winning the series so substantially in your direction. And even, as, playoff series that are 5-7 games long, game one is important for those as too, but in a 3-game set, to just have to split one of the last 2 games is monumental. So I think that's a huge reason for Detroit's success this year. Kind of a Captain Obvious statement, I realize, but I think it's a cool stat to point out. 21-5 in the first game of series this season. This was a great win, though. It's really impressive anytime you can respond to getting punched in the mouth mid-game, and they kind of do that a couple of times, right? Tarik Skubal gives up a couple of home runs early in this ball game. The Tigers respond, and eventually the floodgates that are the Athletics bullpen, just completely open, and here we are with a comfortable 11-4 victory. And just being able to tag the bullpen for insurance runs, I think, is important and shouldn't be overlooked. Like, I talk about it all the time from the Tigers' perspective, obviously, Locked On Tigers, if you're not aware. But the bullpen is one of those things where everyone focuses on how successful a bullpen is when your team has a narrow lead, right? That's everybody, what makes a good bullpen? Well, if you have a 1 or 2 run lead and the pen can hold it. That is obviously true. And that is obviously the biggest thing that you are going to need out of your pen. The ability to do that is going to be vital to get through an 162 game season. But one of the things I talk about all the time from the Tigers pen is, especially last year down the stretch, was they were so good at keeping a deficit where it was at as well. And obviously that didn't apply to the Tigers this game, but it sure as heck applied to the Athletics in this game. This could have been a 3-run ball game for the A's going into that back part. We saw Tommy Kahnle warming up, right? Like they were going to throw the Kahnle, the Kahnle vest 2-headed monster at them in 8-9. And instead, they didn't. They got Matt Gage to end the ball game. And so I think that is something when we talk about how bad the A's bullpen is in this series, that's something that is really important to keep an eye out for too. Like the Tigers can just kind of put games out of reach pretty easily with how bad this bullpen is. Almost an ERA of 6 as a team, which is mind-boggling. And almost the end of June, 20 games over 500. First and only team currently at the time of this recording with 50 wins on the season. Absolutely beautiful. What went right? We're going to start with the star of the show. I guess there's kind of 2, but Wenceel Perez was absolutely phenomenal on both sides of the ball in this ball game. He goes 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. He turns on a fastball up. He's such a professional hitter, and it really looks like he is never overwhelmed by like the moment or like he's always loose. He's always just ready to go into the box and hit, which I love and appreciate about him. But there is a calming, I don't know, like confidence that he has. I think is kind of the word the words I want to use. He got fed a lot of high fastballs in this game. And that's something we've talked about with Kerry Carpenter that he struggled with. Riley Greene at times, right? Like chasing the high fastball is something that a lot of people that try to drive the baseball far really struggle with and have for, the history of baseball. That's why it's been a strategy that's been used for over 100 years. And he got fed a couple of those and still got one that was a little bit, it was still a ball high, but like it was a little bit down and hittable, and turned on it for a 2 RBI double. And he spit on the ones that were, a little bit higher. He has been so impressive this year. Obviously had the dive in the outfield to end the ball game, but the star defensively was when he had back-to-back, or was there a batter in between there? Either way, in the same inning, caught a runner at second base trying to extend a single into a double. Incredible. And Javi deserves a ton of credit. Great tags on that as well. But 2 putouts in 1 inning from a right fielder at the same base does not happen very often. And he had a phenomenal game on both sides of the ball. Again, the switch hittingness of him makes it, I'll tell you, and like Kerry Carpenter homered, which is great and whatnot, but you're getting to this point where there's almost too many cooks in the kitchen. You're like Torkelson didn't play today, and Torkelson has. I mean, we haven't talked about it too terribly much because I'm not super worried about it, but I know a lot of people are. Like he hasn't been hitting a ton lately. Wenceel Perez probably should be in the lineup every day. Switch hitter that's producing and played some pretty solid defense in this ball game. Can do everything on the field, and that is awesome. Wenceel Perez, man, shout out. Let's talk Riley Greene, and then we'll talk, obviously, Kerry Carpenter and all the other contributors offensively before we talk Tarik Skubal. We'll do all of that right after this. First, though, I've got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Monarch Money. We talk about Monarch Money all the time. They are fantastic. If you have ever wished that managing your money felt a lot easier, Monarch Money is for you, because Monarch Money can make managing your money significantly easier. Whether you are growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you can also build wealth. There's so much great features with Monarch Money. Again, there's things that pop out at you when you start using it and you go, oh, wow, I totally forgot or didn't realize that I was spending this much money a month or, bi-weekly, whatever you want to set it as I thought I was. And that is the type of thing that really goes into, again, not only managing your money, but building your wealth as a whole. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off of your first year. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping game 2 against the No City Athletics. Talking about game 1, where the Tigers win 11-4 on Tuesday night. Riley Greene was absolutely stellar at the plate. He goes 4 for 5. And even he had one strikeout looking in this game. It was a terrible call. That was a backdoor slider that actually never hit the back door. That was not even close to being a strike. And that was his only recorded out of the game. 4-hit evening for him, 2 RBI. He now has 61 RBI on the season. And it's not even July 1st. That is pretty darn impressive. He is on pace to have one of the best offensive seasons by a Detroit Tiger in over a decade. Like, legitimately, if he can stay on the field and he can, people talk about the streakiness of him, right? And we've talked about that a lot on this show. The fact of the matter is, even with the huge slump in April and kind of the I don't know, kind of like throwing you all over the place that was May, where it was up and down and up and down. He's hitting 299 with an 890 OPS on the season. That is all of that combined. You will take that 10 times out of 10. There's a reason he has the most votes of any American League outfielder not named Aaron Judge for All-Star voting. He's phenomenal. And he's a knock away from being a 300 hitter, and he's a couple of extra base hits away or walks, whatever, from potentially being a 900 plus OPS guy heading into the All-Star break. He's on a heater. Okay, I'm not trying to tell you that he is not on a massive hot streak right now, but the fact that the hot streaks and the cold streaks put together make a 300 hitter with about a 900 OPS is unbelievable. He's so good. He's so good. And he was great again in this one. One of the most impressive things, I guess I'll say, about this outing was that everything just found the barrel. Like, that double he had in the opposite gap over one of the best defensive center fielder in baseball's heads, off the wall in left center field, is diabolical. That was a changeup that nearly bounced on home plate, and he kind of just like hunched over and just kind of threw the bat at the ball, and it went 400 feet. When he's on, he is on. And I'm really excited about what kind of season numbers he can put together, because this is a perennial all-star caliber player. He's still so young. He's not even 25 years old yet. This is somebody you can build around, and I think he proves that pretty much every game at this point. Kerry Carpenter with a home run as well. Just great to see. We've been talking about Carp and his struggles for a while now. He has not hit well since the middle of May. Really nice to just see him get a hold of a baseball. And it was a wild decision by Severino. Okay, that is 3-0 on a free swinger that literally cannot draw walks, and he throws a fastball that could not have been more right down the middle. Wild decision, okay? Like I said. That being said, Kerry Carpenter has struggled to hit much of anything lately, and the fact that he was able to drive a baseball, we will celebrate and not complain about. So good for him. Only hit on the day, but 1 for 3 with a homer. We'll take, every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So good to see out of him. He gets pinch hit for late in the game for Jahmai Jones. I think that makes a lot of sense. I know that there was a point in time where, a large part of the fan base, if not a majority of the fan base, would get really upset at pinch hitting Carpenter for lefties. I think, look, performance can change anything, right? If he starts producing like crazy again, then we'll have the conversation again. But for the time being, I don't think I really want him facing lefties. He hasn't hit them well this year again. And lately, he hasn't even been hitting righties. I don't need him to get at bats against lefties. I think that's fine. And on top of that, Jahmai Jones has been seeing the ball pretty well against left-handers. So I have no issue with that for the foreseeable future. Again, if he turns it around and starts hitting like he did last year and the end of the year before that, then sure, we can bring it back up. But for the foreseeable future, I'm cool with him just being kind of more of a pure platoon, if you will. Then Dillon Dingler with a homer as well. Great to see. Obviously, trying to get him into the All-Star game too, but has just been so good behind the plate, and the fact that like the Tigers legitimately have this like actual two-way catcher that is really good defensively, has a really good arm. It has been one of the best in all of baseball at caught stealing, and also is crushing the ball. Maybe crushing is a little bit too dramatic. His OPS in the mid 700s for a catcher that is crushing the ball, really. Not a position you get too much offensive output out of usually historically. So awesome to see. Gleyber Torres with a couple of hits. It's a day that ends in Y. Every single position player that played in this game, whether they were a sub in any capacity, started, sub, doesn't matter, got on base at least once. And that's awesome. That's exactly how you draw it up, folks. I think as a team, the approach against Severino should be celebrated too. The runs are obviously, that's the name of the game. That's the whole point. Those are great. You tag their best starting pitcher or certainly their most expensive starting pitcher for 7 earned runs in 5 innings. That's obviously beautiful. But we talked about going into this series, and we've already talked about it on this show. This bullpen is an atrocity. It is worse than any other bullpen in baseball and is almost a 6 ERA. Every single game, the mindset should be, how do we get the starting pitcher out of the game as soon as possible? And you even saw like that the A's have to manage around that. It's like, okay, well, Severino's getting tagged. Well, we still kind of would rather he just gets through this inning, because I'm not really willing to turn it over to this terrible bullpen this early in the game, and especially in game 1 of a series, all of that being factored in. So the runs are great, and the damage from again, Carpenter and Dingler and Greene is awesome, but they worked counts and were able to get to the pen after the 5th inning. And when you're playing almost half the game against what the equivalent of a 6 ERA pitcher, you're going to, pull ahead and if not, give yourself those insurance runs more times than not, especially with how this offense has produced over the course of the season. So great to see. From the Tigers' perspective, the bullpen was fantastic. Chase Lee kind of tight ropes out of danger. He gave up 3 hits. Now, this was also Wenceel Perez defensive masterclass inning, so that certainly helped, but walks out of it with 0 earned runs. Tyler Holton with a clean inning. It wasn't flashy. He didn't get any strikeouts. I don't care. Let's start gaining the confidence. Just give me a little bit of something to work with, and that is what Tyler Holton did. And then Matt Gage closes the door with a clean inning as well. The A's didn't score after the 2nd inning, and like we'll talk about Skubal here in a second. Obviously gave up the homers early, but like Skubal recovered, was able to pitch shutout ball after the 2nd inning. And then he handed it over to a bullpen that, again, it was within a 3-run game when he first exited. And for the bullpen to be able to, go from kind of your high leverage mid relievers and Chase Lee, Hannafy obviously gets a lot of those opportunities too, and then let the offense do its job. And then you can kind of hand it off to the lower leverage relievers. It is exactly how you draw it up. And that is what the Tigers did, which is a beautiful thing. Let's talk about what went wrong. Really, the only person on here is Tarik Skubal. I think this is the first time he has been in the category of what went wrong all season. And maybe I'd like to know when the last time he was on what went wrong. It might be like we're talking like calendar years since he has, and like ultimately this wasn't a terrible outing. I'm going to openly admit that he is held to a higher standard. Okay, if Cater Montero pitched 6 innings of 4 earned run baseball with 8 strikeouts, again was shutout ball in his last 4 innings, I'd probably be coming on here and singing his praises. But this is Tarik Skubal, and he is held to a higher standard. He holds himself to a higher standard. And the command was not great, and he doesn't even get a quality start out of this outing. And in reality, the only reason that it was ever a close game, because the Tigers put up 11, was because of the 2 home runs in the first 2 innings. He's fine, though. It's still Tarik Skubal. In my opinion, he's still the best pitcher on the planet. This outing doesn't change my opinion. It shouldn't change yours either. It's one outing. And again, if this is as bad as it gets, if the floor for Tarik Skubal is 6 innings, 4 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, then he is the best pitcher on the planet. We'll break that down a little bit further, then talk stuff right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet and be Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so if you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked for you, Rugiet might be your answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. It's all completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their website. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB for 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB. Use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always. So, talking about Tarik Skubal, who went 6 innings of 4 earned run ball, does not get the quality start, but kind of settled in a little bit nicely. The first 2 innings, his command was just slightly off. It wasn't the worst command we've seen this year. It wasn't, he wasn't missing by feet, but he was missing by several inches, and it really cost him at times. The home run to Clark, tip of the cap. I was on here yesterday talking about how he's been one of the least productive offensive players in baseball so far, but he's incredibly valuable for his defense. And of course, then in this game, he hits a 2-run homer to dead center, like 420 feet or something. He absolutely crushed it. That was a changeup that was middle, and he's a major league hitter, and that's really all there is to it. Brent Rooker, not only is Brent Rooker just really good for starters, he also has been, for whatever reason, Tarik Skubal's kryptonite in his career. That dude, his career stats against Tarik Skubal are really, really good. So if you're looking for anybody that was maybe going to do damage, it happened to the predictable outcome. the guy that maybe you somewhat expected. The first couple of innings, he was all over the place command-wise, couldn't locate the fastball, then went to the changeup, couldn't locate the changeup, and that is, again, what one of the home runs was given off to. Then he settled down a little bit. In innings 3 and 4, I thought he looked pretty sharp and kind of like his normal self. The pitch count was still pretty low. Then the 5th inning got away from him again, and he got to 2 outs and then let a couple of batters on, and the pitch count skyrocketed again, and that's why he only went 6 innings. But in that 6th inning, he even ended strong. Again, I'm if I was to rank everything that I am worried about with this baseball team, Tarik Skubal is quite literally dead last on the entire roster, coaching staff, everything. He is literally dead last. I do not care. If he threw, a Maddox every time out there, or threw 6 innings of shutout ball or 1-run ball every time out there, he'd be the unanimous greatest pitcher of all time. Okay. This is going to happen. He's okay. Just was spraying the ball a little bit early. When he settled down, it was fine. Also, another rain delay, hour and a half rain delay to start the ball game. He just can't escape the rain either. I'm not worried about Tarik Skubal. Everything is okay. Stuff. So from this game, don't really have too much else to say. Just a solid win. Really solid win for Detroit. Off the field, Tigers fans everywhere celebrate as Whit Merrifield retires. For those who are unaware, maybe you haven't followed the Tigers for a long time. Maybe you're just now getting, back into the Tigers because they're winning games. Whatever your reasoning may be, Whit Merrifield turned into Barry Bonds reincarnated every single time he stepped on Comerica Park for the better part of a decade. Okay. He has given this past generation of Tigers fans nightmares for their entire lives. And I'm not exaggerating. He legitimately dominated this franchise his entire Royals career. If his stats against the Tigers in his career were stretched out over a full career, and those just were his career stats, he'd literally be the greatest player of all time. So I'm sure he's a great human being. His note was very touching and thoughtful, and it was a great read, and I wish him nothing but the best in retirement. I am also so unbelievably happy. I almost cried that the Detroit Tigers will never have to take the field against the Major League Baseball team with Whit Merrifield on it ever again. Thank you. Wishing you the best. I hope he's the happiest he's ever been in his life while he's retired, because that means he will never want to go play baseball again. Tip of the cap. All joking aside, seriously, really solid career. Was an underrated part of some of those early Royals teams. Nothing but respect, genuinely, and wishing him the best with his family in retirement. The Tigers make a roster move, not the Tigers. The Tigers organization, I should say, make a roster move from Korea. Woo Suk Go is signed, and he pitched in the KBO, has pitched in AAA as well, gotten some looks as a reliever and a closer. And the Tigers have signed him to a minor league deal. It sounds like he's going to report to Toledo, so we'll see where he ends up. But, I enjoy bringing up all of kind of the pitching signings, like, period, that the Tigers do at this point, because there's always a chance that, like, you're going to get decent production from them. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I just think every single pitcher the Tigers sign, I'm like, well, knowing our pitching development staff, like, there's a chance. So yeah, there you go. Newest addition to the Mud Hens bullpen, presumably from South Korea, like I said. The Tigers also sounds like are going to call up somebody from Toledo to start or be bulk, depending on if there's an opener or whatever, for Thursday's game. Flaherty will pitch on Wednesday. Dietrich Enns is going to pitch on Thursday by most accounts. He's had a 2.89 ERA in Toledo. He's a left-handed starter. He's had solid strikeout numbers, pretty low walk numbers, which is always great. Middle of the road, ground ball stuff and whatnot. I'm interested to see. So MLB Trade Rumors put an article together kind of summarizing it, and they pointed out something that I think is very fair to bring up. And it's the fact that because he's not on the 40-man roster, you're going to have to clear a spot to add him to the 40. Then on top of that, you're going to have, hopefully, if everything goes well in his next rehab outing, Reese Olson come back soon. There is a chance that this dude is added to the 40-man roster, starts a Major League Baseball game, and then is almost immediately designated for assignment. And make it count. Like he's in his mid-30s. Like, this obviously isn't like a long-term piece, but he's been really solid in Toledo. A few years ago, he kind of bounced around foreign leagues. He pitched in the KBO at one point. He pitched in the NPB at one point. Like this is a guy that was in the majors, in the majors or minor leagues, from 2017, 18, 19, all the way through COVID. And then, kind of bounced around to try to reinvent his arsenal and whatnot. And now he's back and pitching really good ball for Toledo. And obviously, Tigers love their lefties on top of that. So we'll see what kind of production he has, and we'll see how long he stays on the Tigers roster. But should be an interesting start on Thursday. On Wednesday, it's going to be Jack Flaherty against Jacob Lopez. I don't know if I use the word worried, but I am interested to see how Jack Flaherty does against this A's lineup. This, as I mentioned yesterday, this is not a bad lineup. This, I know, the A's are the A's and everything going around surrounding their organization. Goodness. But like this is legitimately a good offensive producing lineup. They are good. And Jack Flaherty has not been giving up a lot of hard contact and a lot of home runs lately. So I'm interested to see how that works. Jacob Lopez, another, mid-low 4 ERAs pitcher that you should be able to do some damage against. And even if you can't, again, just get him out of the game early. And then you turn it over to a really bad bullpen. And like, you know what I mean? Like it's important not to overreact early against the Athletics because they can always blow the game. Okay. Cool. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping game 2 and maybe go win game 2. That way you give ends a little bit of breathing room for a guy that hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball in like 4 or 5 years. You give yourself a little bit of a cushion there. You get a series win anyway. Let's do that. Okay. Talk to y'all tomorrow, baby. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. Catch y'all then. Go Tigers.